Hi, my name's Dan, and in this video we're going to look at compiling for blueprints in the Unreal Engine, and it's part of a series of videos that I'm doing, which is an introduction to visual scripting for blueprints in the Unreal Engine. And in the last couple of videos, if you've been watching these in sequence, you might have, you might not have, then you'll have seen that when I do things with blueprints, I tend to press the compile button. So the setup that I've got here is a third-person template, and we've got a little blueprint that I created during the last video, which has got a little plate. We've got a row of these along here that are acting as platforms. I've just changed the texture so that it's wood, sorry, the material. I'll just kind of quickly demonstrate what this is that's going on here. They become invisible when playing starts, but as you walk over them, they become visible and then become invisible again. That's actually triggering just before I hit it, because there's been a strange thing going on there, and I can show you what's going on in the viewport, which is that this object is not centered anymore. It's because I was playing about with it and I actually deleted that temporarily. I'm going to make that centered. It's a slightly different object, this SM cube, from the cube that I was using before. So if we go back into the world, having compiled, then they're all kind of moved over a bit. That's because I'd actually moved them over to compensate for the fact that they're out of whack, and I hadn't realised why they were out of whack. There we go. Right. The live programming, this is what happens. We're going to talk about compilation. So we're in this blueprint here, and I've got the event graph up here. And what compilation does, when you make changes to a blueprint, you compile it, which basically checks that everything is, as far as it can tell, is going to be okay. Sometimes it is quite hard to actually get things that are that will throw up compilation errors, because the way that the visual scripting is set up is that actually you tend to do things that are acceptable. It doesn't. I'm trying to be really careful with my wording here, because I don't necessarily mean you get it right, because there's a difference between a compilation error, which is where the script isn't put together in a way that can be made sense of, and a logical error, which is where it all makes sense in terms of the script, but it doesn't do what you want it to do. So this is, sometimes these are called syntax errors. It's not strictly a syntax error when it's in a visual scripting language, because that's to do with text, but it's a compilation error. So what I want to do is I want to make something wrong here so that you can actually see what happens when you get a compilation error. I'm just moving that, straightening that up. I've pre-tested this, so I'm pretty sure this is going to work. So this node here, set visibility, its target is a scene component object reference, and at the moment it's linked into this into the cube. But if I break that wire, then it changes to self, and self basically means this blueprint, or this instance of the blueprint. And if I now click compile, we'll find that, first of all, there's a message down here. The blueprint is not self is not a scene component. So, I mean, therefore, target must have a connection. So basically, and this node has got a nice error bar across the bottom. And basically, it means this is wrong, it's not going to work. And so you need to do something different. I'm not sure what I did there. Sorry about that. And it's gone red over here on the compile. I wonder what happens if I try and play when I do that, because normally I try and fix that. Yeah, blueprint compilation errors. It says you can have a go at playing, but are you sure? Because something's wrong. And in fact, it's let's see, blueprint failed to compile, and it's been replaced in the world by a nice little sprite that says blueprint bad blueprint, naughty blueprint. So let's go back in and let's fix it. All we need to do is to stick that back on there, and it still says error because it doesn't automatically update until we try and compile. But when I click compile, it then knows that's fine, and we should be able to go back in there, and it stopped saying blueprint bad, and it's now working again. Okay. I'm just trying to briefly trigger those. There we go. So that's a compilation error. There is another kind of error, which I think are actually more common. But to do them in a simple script is kind of convoluted and kind of hard. I have preset something up in here that's going to give me another kind of error, which is a runtime error. So this is the sort of error that the compilation process can't detect. It doesn't know that this is going to be something that's going to be wrong. Usually this is around having things like this where you're expecting some data, but for some reason wherever you're pulling the data in from is empty and there's not actually an instance of something there. So what I've done is, I don't want you to focus too much on the concepts of what a function is or what a variable is, but I've created a new variable in here which is of type my platform, and that's this thing here. So this would actually allow us to make one platform refer to another platform, but as we hang on, the new var on here, it's a variable type my plate, but it's not been it's an empty variable, and if you don't understand that, I'm sorry. We will be doing variables in a later video. It's just I'm having to jump ahead a few things just to demonstrate this idea of a runtime error. And the other thing that I've done is I've created a function in here, which is another script that you can create within, another way of creating a script within a blueprint. And they have these purple nodes as an entry point, and all this is doing is it's printing a string that says dummy. Okay, so going back to the event graph, when we do the actor begin overlap, I'm going to tag on to the end of this. I'm going to drag off that variable and call dummy, which is that function inside there. And actually, yeah, again, I'm trying not to get you to get too bogged down by this, but the thing that's going to cause me a problem here is if that had actually been populated with another platform, then it would be fine. But because that's an empty variable, it's going to try and run dummy on an empty on an item that doesn't exist, and it's going to give us an error. So I'm going to compile. It doesn't detect it because it doesn't know that at the point where I'm going to do this, that is going to be empty. It's not clever enough to work that out. And then I'm going to go in and play, and here we go. I'm going to walk over things. Now it's not actually throwing anything up, it's letting me continue to play. And the time when you see that there's been an error is when I stop playing and a box comes up with all these runtime errors in saying I've tried to access something that didn't exist. And I find it's quite common when I see work that students have been working on for them to be playing and stuff, and they get these errors coming up at the end and they don't really pay attention to them. And there's something going wrong in their script and they're thinking, oh, this is just some kind of warning afterwards, and it's not. It's an error. Something's not how it should be in your script or in the working of your script. Anyway, I've looked at the two major types of errors here, which are the compilation errors, which happen when you try and compile a blueprint, and a runtime error, which you can't is something that can't be detected by compilation. And the third type of error is the logical error, which is where it's not doing what you want it to do, which you can only check for by actually play testing what you've got and checking that it is doing what you think it should be doing. So I've come to an end, so I'm going to say that's it from me for now.